Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. I had originally planned to talk today about, well actually I planned to talk about it yesterday and I got sidetracked, as you know if you watched that vlog. So today I was going to talk about the actions of the media, or the inactions of the media, however you want to describe it, in their falling all over themselves not to cover the Tara Reade accusation of sexual assault by Joe Biden. But I have to change that plan because I'm starting to wonder if that's changing. I'm starting to wonder if the dam is about to break. I want to focus on one particular issue, and that is these Senate records that are being kept under seal by the University of Delaware. Now, what is it about these records? Tara Reade has said that at the time of the alleged sexual assault, she complained to a staffer. That person is now saying that it never happened, that she doesn't remember it, that she is 100% sure that it never happened. She meaning Tara Reade, talked about another person to whom she talked about it on the Biden staff, and that person denies it too. But Tara Reade says that she specifically remembers that person taking notes as she described the alleged incident. I don't have the names at the top of my head. I believe that the man's name, it could be Ted Kaufman, something like that. That is not germane. What is germane is that Tara Reade says that she is reasonably sure that whatever she might have said at that time was taken down, noted, and put into these senatorial records. Not the Senate's records, but Biden's personal Senate records. And apparently, and I don't know why this is, but apparently senators are allowed to do whatever they want with their records. So Joe Biden donated his records to the University of Delaware. I'm going to give you some details on that. Don't want to go into that too much because I'm about to read you actual quotes from a couple of articles, but I just wanted you to know what this is all about, give you a general overview. So let's start with this article. Biden camp refuses to open up Senate papers that could shed light on accusers' claims, but has sent operatives to look through records. That is a key point that I want to get to, but first let me just give you some quotes. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's campaign has insisted that journalists, quote, rigorously vet, unquote, the allegations of former Senate aide Tara Reade, who said she was sexually assaulted by the former vice president and forced out after she complained of harassment. But again, not just to avoid confusion, not while he was vice president. This is way back when he was a senator. Reade says she believes that Biden's senatorial papers, which are housed at the University of Delaware, may contain notes and other personnel records supporting some of her claims. But the archives are currently sealed until, quote, 2 years after Biden retires from public life, unquote, and the Biden camp refuses to open them to the public. Insider, that would be Business Insider, that's the publication from which I'm getting this article. Insider has learned that Biden campaign operatives have visited the archives on at least one occasion. Previously, prominent Democrats have argued that public access to official records is essential to developing fitness for office. And that specific previous instance that everybody remembers, of course, is the Brett Kavanaugh Supreme Court nomination. And you know, just as an aside, I always have to catch myself when I say Brett Kavanaugh, because a lot of times I almost say Jerome Kavanaugh, because when I was a youngster growing up in Detroit, my hometown, the mayor was Jerome Kavanaugh. So if I ever accidentally say Jerome Kavanaugh. That's why, former mayor of Detroit. But I digress. The campaign of Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden has repeatedly insisted that journalists, quote, vigorously vet, unquote, the claims of former Biden staffer Tara Reade, who said she was sexually harassed while working in Biden's Senate office and sexually assaulted by Biden himself in 1993. But Biden is refusing to allow public access to his senatorial archives, even though it may contain records that could shed light on Reade's accusations. And even as his own campaign operatives have themselves accessed the papers in the past year, which raises to me a very interesting question. Why is he refusing to release these records after his own operatives have looked at the records? He allowed his operatives to look at the records, so it's not like he's keeping them completely private. But after they looked at the records, he is refusing to release the records. What is the obvious conclusion? The obvious conclusion, which can only be disproven by releasing the records, is that he sent his operatives in there to look at the records, and they found something that Biden does not want to come out. Now, working from that, here is an article from, and this is what I'm getting to, here is an article from The Atlantic by Peter Beinart. Look at the title, Biden should release his papers. And he goes into some detail on what I just mentioned. This is important. Pay attention. In 2012, Biden delivered 1,875 boxes of, quote, photographs, documents, videotapes, and files, unquote, and 415 gigabytes of electronic records to his alma mater, the University of Delaware. They covered his entire 36-year Senate career. At the time, the university said it expected to, and this is important, at the time, the university said it expected to make the papers, quote, available to the public 2 years after Biden's last day in elected public office, unquote. Biden left the vice presidency in January 2017, and January 2019 came and went with no papers released. Then, on April 24th, 2019, the day before Biden announced his presidential campaign, the university revised the schedule. The papers would now remain sealed until December 31st, 2019, or until 2 years after Biden, quote, retires from public life, unquote, whichever came later. That means Americans likely won't learn what's in his papers before they vote for president this fall. So it was originally 2 years after Biden leaves public office. Now it's 2 years after Biden retires from public life. I think the fix is in. Another example of what I've been talking about, these efforts to cover up the Biden accusation, the proof or the evidence, put it that way, or anything that could shed light one way or the other. But it's an attempt to bury this story. But look at this headline again. Biden should release his papers. This is from The Atlantic, which is known as a liberal publication. Peter Beinart, the writer, is definitely a liberal. And look at this headline from the equally liberal Washington Post. Biden himself should address the Tara Reade allegations and release relevant records. The former vice president and probable Democratic presidential nominee has yet to speak publicly about the allegation Ms. Reade has lodged against him, that when she was a member of his Senate staff in the 1990s, Mr. Biden pushed her against a wall and put his finger up her skirt and then inside her. Mr. Biden's campaign says, quote, this never happened, unquote. And as I always do, I linked to, well, all the articles that I've discussed today. They are in the description. You can read the entire article. But I just want to address this headline in this article from the Post and add to that the one from the Atlantic and ask the question, is the dam about to break on the Tara Reade allegation? Are we reaching a critical mass, a point where the media no longer can bury the story? It looks like they are starting to ask questions. They are starting to ask for the production of documents. More important, they are starting to ask Joe Biden himself to speak to the question, that the press would start demanding, not just asking, but demanding that he sit down for a substantial length of time without his wife sitting next to him, his guardian and defender. Sit down and answer these questions, and not just from a sympathetic TV station, but from, well, I would like to see several, maybe somebody from CNN and somebody from Fox News, and let them ask questions. But the important thing is that I think we may, I'm not saying we are, but I think we may be reaching a point where the press, to not seem like total hypocrites and fools, are going to have to address this issue and start reporting on it, which means by extension that Democratic politicians, especially female Democratic politicians, and especially female Democratic politicians who are potential vice presidential candidate picks, they're going to have to address this issue, and they're going to have to do it publicly. Until that happens, if it does, I can only say stay tuned. And well, there's one more thing I can say. Thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? You can put them in the comment section below the video, as well as any questions you might have, suggestions for future topics. You can also subscribe if it's not too much trouble. I like getting new subscribers, so subscribe. But finally, most of all, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.